Well, I think the Commerce Authority is a step forward and an improvement over the old Commerce Department, Department of Commerce. And any organization can always stand improvement or reformation. But I think the ACA is doing a much better job than what was happening under just a Department of Commerce. So I'd like to build on that. But I think the secret to growing our economy in a way and in a rate that I envision is going to have to be done by broader policy decisions in our tax policy, regulatory policies, fixing our education system. I don't think we can look to one agency or authority, whether it was the old Department of Commerce or the Commerce Authority now. I don't think we can say that they're responsible for growing our economy. I think it's got to be much bigger and broader than that. I think one of the first things that we need to do is eliminate the state income tax for both businesses and personal. There's 9 states that do not have a state income tax. A couple years, some of you may have seen me explain the state budget with Kleenex boxes. And 3 or 4 years ago, no, 2 or 3, I was doing that at a economic development forum in Chandler. And the next speaker on the program was Barry Broom from Greater Phoenix Economic Council. And he was talking about how GPEC was targeting 300 companies that had left the state of California in just the previous 12 months. And they were trying to get those 300 companies to come to Arizona. And he unfortunately had to announce to the audience that of the 300, they only got 1 of them to come to Arizona. And the first question from someone in the audience was, well, where'd they go? If you couldn't get them to come to Arizona, in particular Maricopa County, where'd they go? Well, he started rattling off about 9 or 10 states. And I think I can remember, there was Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia may have made it in there, Wyoming, Nevada, Washington, Colorado, maybe Utah. Of the 9 or 10 states that he mentioned, 6 of them are states without a state income tax. Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Washington, Wyoming, Nevada. And there's 3 others, South Dakota, New Hampshire, and Alaska. I think Arizona needs to be the 10th state to eliminate the state income tax. Not that that solves the whole problem or means that we're going to get 300 out of 300 companies that leave California in any given year. But given our proximity to California, if you've got a company with 2, 3, 500, 1,000 jobs and California has just increased the regulatory burden and the tax burden and on to a point where you can't operate there anymore, instead of moving halfway across the country or all the way across the country, if we can get a third or a fourth of those companies to locate right here in Arizona, they can be back to grandkids or grandparents or cousins or aunts or uncles or friends and family on a weekend instead of a week across the country. So I think, given our proximity to just the amount of business that California is driving away, if we were the 10th state without a state income tax, I think that would be a huge asset to us. Now you got to replace the income somehow. I would replace it with a low-rate, broad-based sales tax. I would tax more as people consume rather than try to tax some of their consumption and some of their income. Would have a low-rate, broad-based sales tax, and you can figure out some mechanisms to help address issues for the those at the lower end of the economic scale and the poor and that. But I would have a low-rate, broad-based, consumption-based tax rather than taxing some consumption at some pretty high rates and income. That was a lot to answer. Whether the Commerce Authority needed reformation, I apologize, Jim.